we interact with students who it's such a transformative moment for them in their lives. What maybe that's one is that one of the reasons that drew you to education, drew you to the college campus? I mean,
Yeah, maybe the little backstory is I had never actually intentionally planned to be in higher ed, let alone Creighton University. I think when I left Creighton as a student in those first couple years out of college, I was really attuned to the missionary work. In fact, I always thought I would be a missionary. I was very heavily influenced by men like Father Greg Boyle, who has the ministry out in Los Angeles, working with formerly incarcerated gang members, uh, homeboys industry. There were other Jesuits throughout the world who were doing these very magnanimous, world beater sort of things, and I guess I thought that that's what Creighton had formed me for. And throughout formation, it's funny. I went from volunteering in Ecuador and on a reservation, and now I'm working in our traditional high schools, and now here at Creighton. Wasn't something I ever imagined or planned for myself. I guess I always imagined I would do these huge world changing things, and I think it's amazing what God's wisdom is. And God sent me back to Creighton, and at first I was a little was like, what am I doing going back to Creighton? But it makes sense in that uh, this is the place I feel of, aside from my parents, I feel most formed by Creighton University. And the type of Jesuit I am is because of Creighton, and the way that I'm here. I feel like the added value that I provide is not um, being an administrator or wonderful teacher. It's just being a person who's here, being with students. And then, as you mentioned, um, many of them are struggling is not the right word, but being confronted with these questions of who am I? To start with, what am I going to do with my life? I mean, I think college really necessitates, and there's a lot of pressure. Am I going to be a doctor? Am I going to be a lawyer? How am I going to make money? How am I going to have a family? And even me saying that, I feel the intensity and weight of those questions on them. And so to go on a retreat and to actually, for the first time, ask a question like, what am I doing with my life, or who am I becoming? Do I actually enjoy this? Whose dreams am I living out? What types of relationships do I find most valuable? And I think what I provide in my goofy sort of way is a place of safety where they don't feel the weight of those questions that maybe an institution might be asking or an admissions board might be asking. They are able to rest in those questions. And I think that that's a privilege I get to do by having this job. And certainly I run retreats and there's administrative, but the real magic where I feel like the spirit shows up is just in the conversation that I have with another.
and well, you kind of laid it out a little bit, your own path.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't know if you necessarily had a plan per se, but as you mentioned, students on campus when you're in college, you're thinking about what is my plan, what is next.
Yeah.
Um, and it didn't necessarily go the way you would have thought at age 21, 22, 23.
No, that's right.
So I don't know, maybe this do you find yourself referencing sort of your experience to help others through theirs? I mean, I think of me at age 21, 22. I probably thought I had everything worked out and I'm going to be here by age 30 and here by age 40. And life doesn't work like that. God doesn't work like that.
And not to get overly theological, but you and I, John, we had a conversation a couple days ago about this notion of God's plan. And I had a conversation with a student, with two students, very lovely young women, and we were in the car going out to Paxton, Nebraska for choir pilgrimage. And in the conversation, they asked about uh, God's plan and does God have a plan? And later, having a conversation with that same woman about, you know, our whole lives are planned out from the age of we're 5, we're going to school, we're going to kindergarten, we're going into grade school, then we're going to high school. And for many, myself included, college is the next thing, and that's what you do. And so when you hit 21, 22, there is no plan in the same way that's been crafted. So
You know,
I
plan
think
that's been crafted by others.
by others now.
Okay. You're looking at yourself,
And
basically.
so I think what has been modeled in the way that our families, especially for those that are pedigree, where their parents went to college and their parents were like, "You're gonna do this too." I think that we also conflate God's plan with the plan that others have put. So then it comes to a question, does God have a plan for me? And do I have to have it figured out at 21, 22, as you mentioned? Uh, I think the answer is that God and us plan together, or better said, we dream together. And can we allow ourselves to dream? I like to think that maybe I'm theologically incorrect, but they're multiverses. I could walk through door A and this would be my life, and I could walk through door B and this could be my life, and I could walk through door C and this could be my life. And more important is not which door I walk through, but is God going to walk through it with me as I continue to open and close doors? And that's the thing that I think is really hard. And I think, especially with a generation of people who are so much about achievement and accomplishing that, uh, we want to make other people proud and family and friends and yet um, and so we think about that with God, like if I do this, God will be proud of me, or this is what God wants, and if I don't live up to this dream, is God going to be disappointed? And I think in our realist moments, if we're really close to God, can we just see that God's accompanying us and God has hopes and dreams, but regardless of what we choose or do, that's more important. That's really hard to swallow, and I think it's really hard to feel all the time in a generation where achievement is so important.